Okay, I just want to take a little time today to show everyone my new 1911, or actually it's not a 1911, it's a 2011 from STI. This is the Staccato P. I've actually had this in the background of several Instagram photos over the past week to try to give people a hint that I had one. Before that, I had a picture of the grip in a video for my Patreon followers, and one patron picked up that, oh man, you have a 2011, and at that point I said no, because I didn't have it yet, I just had the grip. But I do have an STI 2011 finally. People have been getting on me about, you got to try one of these, you got to try one of these, you got to try one of these. So I finally did. It was between this and a Wilson combat gun, one of their, the carry 1911s they make, or 1911-ish gun. But this was a lot cheaper, so I went with this. So let's take a look at it. And it says, built for shooters, made in the USA, although that's upside down, extra mag there. And here's the gun, and it's upside down. So let me turn this around and show you the gun. Okay, as you can see, like the box said, it is the Staccato P. It is, I would say, a commander size 1911 because it does have the shorter 4-inch barrel. It is the host model, or I forget which one they call this. They have called this version of this gun so many different things. They keep making tiny changes. There's like the host, there's the duo, etc. And I can never keep track of what the differences are between each one. Let's just say this is the Staccato P that is cut for a red dot sight. Now, what makes this a 2011 and not a 1911 is, of course, that it is a double stack gun. This has a double stack magazine here, holds 17 rounds of 9mm plus one in the chamber. So that's 18 rounds of 9mm in your 2011. Now, you can also get this in 45 ACP, but I'm not a big fan of 45 ACP, and you don't get enough rounds in the 45 ACP for me to make it worth it. So in this gun, I chose to go with the 9mm. Now, one defining feature of the STI 2011s here is very similar to that Gucci Glock I have from Zevtech, where the slide and the receiver are all steel, but the grip frame and the trigger guard here are polymer, one-piece polymer. If you look at the extra grip I have for it here, in case I ever want to make it a two-tone, you can see this is all one piece right here. And someday I might just change this out, put this on there, and have me a two-tone 2011. Now, I haven't taken this gun out to the range for any serious testing yet, but one thing I will say about this gun right off the bat, this slide is so easy to rack. I would say even the most frail old woman could probably rack this slide. I mean, it's so light, I bet even a Democrat could rack the slide. So it is really smooth. It's like it's on rollers. It's like you start to rack it and it kind of racks itself. It's just an amazing mechanism here. And the trigger is super nice. There's just a tiny little bit of take up, and it's super light. You cannot predict the break on this gun because as soon as you put any pressure on it, it's going to break. There's no give. There's no where you could feel a click or pressure or a wall or anything. It's just the take up is there and then it fires. Now, this particular model of the STI, whatever they want to call it, has a weird kind of grip here where they have done a melt treatment to it, or what they call that stippling. Not sure I like this very much, but you know, it's not offensive looking, so I'll give it a go. We'll see how grippy it actually is. All right, as I said earlier, this model is actually cut for the red dot sight here, or RMR as I would usually call it, because, you know, I'm kind of like those people that call all tissues Kleenex or all gelatin Jello. I've only had experience with RMRs, so the Trigicon's what I know, so I kind of call them all RMRs, even though I know they're not RMRs. So if I do that during the video, you'll have to forgive me, but that's why I do it. Normally, I would actually put an RMR on here, but this gun already had this Leupold Delta Point Pro installed on it. Now, I know some people pronounce that differently. Some people call it a Leupold or a Leupold, whatever. You call it whatever you want to call it. You pronounce it however you want to pronounce it. I've seen people insulting each other's mothers on gun forums over how to pronounce the name of this company. I don't really think it's that important. I call it Leupold. They're here in Beaverton, and I know people that have worked there. But what do I know? You call it whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it Leupold Delta Point Pro. As I was saying, this was already installed on there, and my dealer highly recommended this. It has a better sight picture. It's just a better overall sight, he thinks, over the Trigicon. So I thought I'd give it a go. It does have some advantages over the RMR, but there's also some disadvantages, and I'll go over those here real quick. Now, the advantages of the Leupold, like I've already kind of mentioned, is it does have a much bigger window. That's nice. If you're going to get a good sight picture, it's nice to have that bigger window. The other advantage is it mounts directly to the gun, so you don't need a plate. That's actually good and bad. Because if you were going to mount an RMR on here, it would have that smaller window, which is a disadvantage, and it uses a plate, which a lot of people would say is also a disadvantage because you have to go buy the plate. But the plate for the RMR actually has the rear sight on it. It has a suppressor height rear sight, so you can co-witness. If you notice with this Leupold, there's no co-witness. Since you're not using a plate, there's no rear sight. And if there's no rear sight, like I said, you can't co-witness. That's a no-no for me. I will only use a red dot sight on a gun if I can co-witness with a rear sight also. So this would not meet my standards as it is, but luckily you can actually buy a little piece that will put a rear iron sight on the sight itself and take care of that problem. This is it right here. It's just a little piece that goes right onto the back of the RMR and provides an adjustable rear sight. So let's go ahead and put that on there real quick. Okay, I assume this is going to be easy to put on. We will see. All you got to do, from what I gather, is loosen the two set screws on this back side of the sight here. There's a set screw on both sides of the back end here. You just loosen that up. All right, once you get those loosened up, this little plate on the back just comes out. And then the little iron sight just goes right back in the same slot on the Leupold. Or I guess I should just call it a Delta Point Pro. That way I don't have to try to pronounce that name. But once it's in there, you just tighten your screws back down. You'll feel it snug in there. Do that on both sides. Okay, it is on there and it looks good. Now, it is adjustable for elevation and windage. There's a screw right here on top for elevation and a screw on the side for the left and right there. Now, it looks good. Now, I will have to say there's a little bit of a color variation between it and the actual sight, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Hopefully, it'll wear in a little bit. Sometimes these things that are kind of grayish, they become black after a little while, but if not, I might have to Cerakote the body of this thing because there is a slight difference in the color. Hopefully, it won't bother me. When you look at it with reflections on the gun, you don't notice it, so we'll see if it bothers me or not, but for now, it's on there, and I have actually zeroed it in on the red dot right now. Don't know if that will actually work because I don't know if the red dot's on yet or not. So once I can get it to the range, I'll adjust it up, get it all sighted in. This gun will be ready to go. So there it's together and it's ready to go out to the range. Like I say, I haven't really got a chance to shoot it yet. My first impressions of it is that it's really well put together. I love how easy that slide is to rack. The trigger feels amazing. Really like this sight setup. I've never used the Delta Points yet, so this will be a new experience for me. And I'm really kind of impressed with how light it is. For a gun this size, it's pretty light. So can't wait to get to the range and test it out. But until then, there's your first look at my new STI Staccato P. They make these motherfucking things to where you cannot get in them without a goddamn knife. There, motherfucker. How you like that? Oops.
Go ahead. Rapid to the lady at 46 South Road. 46 South Road. Greenfield.
Station 1 call, retone that please.
10-4.
Captain 4 to go to that location also. This is 1-9, is that correct?